Hello cycling community, this is Steve Grusis, the Cycling Greek, and this is another one of our early morning Dam Hill series rides. At the bottom of this climb is a T intersection with a stoplight. At the other end of the stoplight is a small town. At the other end of the small town is a very small climb called the Lost Lake Climb. Everything was pretty fast and together as we headed into the Lost Lake Climb. Toward the top of the Lost Lake Climb, a solo attacker got a sizable gap on the group. Chasing ensued, but it was the red light that nullified the attack. With the green light, the Big Kahuna in front of me took the lead and I went on his wheel. The Big Kahuna is a strong, sprint-oriented Cat 2 rider. He was climbing at a fair pace, but I was getting a little nervous because the climbers in back of me were just biding their time and we were going to attack any moment. I should have been more patient, but I was getting a little nervous, so I went ahead and took the lead. I was hoping to keep the pace steady enough so that it would appease the climbers and get me closer to the middle flat section. Fast forward a little bit. This seemed to be working, but once the climb got to 7.5%, the others just waited for me to slow down, then off they went. That's Superman with the accountant on his wheel, and the Big Kahuna is bridging up to them. The next person that comes by me is a client of mine who was never known as a climber. He has made some amazing gains in his training that I'll have to talk about in a future video. Back to this video, I'm now in the familiar position of chasing. When I had first looked up, I thought my client was going to be able to catch the leaders. They would then hit the flat section around the corner up there and be gone. As it turned out, my client was starting to redline. The gradient got down below 4% and I was starting to catch up to him. I just needed to connect before we hit the flats or else he'd be gone. Fast forward a little bit, I was able to make the connection and now we are now on the flats. I could see that the leaders are way up there and the only chance for two to win is for my client, who's a Cat 3 Masters level sprinter, to get up to them and then out-sprint them. I then went to the front and started pulling with everything that I had, which at this point was not a lot. Even though my plan called for getting my client up there so he can out-sprint them, keep in mind that the top three had a sprinter in that group and that the two climbers were trying to get rid of him. The two climbers were forcing the pace as the gradient was slowly starting to increase, keeping the Big Kahuna in stress. At a certain point, they attacked, and then they were off while the Kahuna was trying to salvage his third place. In the meantime, my leadout ran out of gas. When I slowed, my client then appropriately attacked in an effort to break into the top three. Fast forward a little bit. After a little bit of recovery under stress, I started picking up the speed. Coming around the final curve, I see that my client had the Big Kahuna in his sights, but the Big Kahuna was too far ahead. As it ended up, it was Superman, the accountant, and the Big Kahuna. My client came in next, and I trailed in after that. Hope you enjoyed watching this morning's gut-wrenching festivities. Remember, comment, like, subscribe. The Cycling Greek.